This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitefield, and tonight I'm going to teach you how to code. What is code? I haven't a clue what coding is. The last thing I knew about coding was Enigma, and that was in World War II when they were trying to decipher German signals, but that was a long time ago. In the 21st century, coding is the new oxygen for young people. It is how so many great businesses are starting. It's how many great applications for your smartphone and for your smart devices are being evolved, but it's a lot deeper than that. Aaron Fuchs runs a business called iXperience. This is a guy who used to be on a trading floor in New York. He's come back to South Africa. He's convinced a whole bunch of Ivy League kids to come here to teach young people how to code. In simple terms, teach Grandad what coding is, Aaron.
Bruce, firstly, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. In simple terms, teaching you how to code, it is actually a misconception that coding is difficult. Coding is like learning a language. You know, you just have to get through an initial barrier of understanding the basic terminology.
It's like learning an alphabet of coding?
Well, kind of, yeah. There's like a few sort of fundamentals that you need to understand about computers, about computer science. And then it's just about applying yourself, taking the time to actually learn the skill, like learning Spanish, for example. And, you know, with some hard work over the period of a month of intensive training, you can actually pick up enough skill to start building your own web applications and to start thinking about creating a startup with the tools that you have.
I mean, you maintain that you could teach me to be fluent in, okay, not me, someone to be fluent in coding within 160 hours. I mean, that's what, a 4-month training course or thereabouts?
Yeah, I mean, like there's obviously different levels of coders, and our goal is to give people enough skill within a month that they can actually start building products using code. Now, obviously, there's different levels. You know, an experienced coder of 2 years can create much more complex things. But ultimately, you have to start somewhere. You have to get a foundation to be able to start understanding this language that pretty much every business needs and needs that skill within their company today.
Chatting to my colleagues who arranged this discussion, they said we have to do coding courses. If you don't have coding, the future is dark. And that is the sense of it. I mean, it's a little bit like saying, I'm going to go and start a business in France without having a single word of French to your name. If the future is coding, then we need to understand the language.
Well, I mean, there's quite simple statistics that show that the use of phones and computers has pretty much skyrocketed in the last 5 years, especially within continents like Africa, where people are only starting to get access to data, only starting to use mobile phones, smartphones. And because of this, the opportunity to create products for these people is enormous. And the problem that exists is that there just aren't enough people to be able to fill that gap. So you've got a country where unemployment is high. You've got...
We're talking about South Africa here.
South Africa in particular. And then you've got a situation where everybody needs developers, yet no one actually possesses the skills to fill these gaps.
And so nobody's developing the developers.
No one's developing the developers. The developers or computer science graduates that come out of UCT don't even have the necessary skill to function in these high performance environments.
What sort of, how does your brain need to be wired to be a coder? Do you need to have strong linguistic skills? Do you need to have strong mathematical skills, strong scientific skills? What is the basis of a solid coder?
As far as I'm concerned, there is no scientific evidence to, say that a certain person will be a better coder than another person. For me, someone who's a logical thinker is a good basis for someone who can learn to code.
So if you play chess and you're a good chess player, chances
are
I'm a good you'd be okay. Player, so. Oh, you're a good chess player. We should have a game while we do this.
Play a game.
See if you beat me in 12 minutes.
Well, what I'm saying really is that coding isn't just about coding. It's about product design. It's about understanding people. You're building products that you want people to use, right? So it's a combination of creativity, of understanding users' needs, and the ability to actually execute and build something, right?
What's the genesis of all this? I mean, what takes you from a trading floor, working in an investment bank in New York, to coming to Cape Town and convincing a whole bunch of young people from Ivy League American schools to come here? Take me back to where the seed is planted.
It's quite a complex story. I mean, I studied mechanical engineering at Yale. I then got offered a job on Wall Street. So
obviously, mechanical engineering to trading, it makes perfectly good sense. Yes.
Well, the way that it works in the US is that they hire, Wall Street hires from top schools, right? It's kind of irrelevant what you're studying. You could be a history major, you can go work on Wall Street. They teach you the skills that you need when you get there. And while I was working there, I was building complex financial models to pretty much make as much money as possible. That was the brief. and there I learned to trade, and I learned to code and started to understand all this intricate coding things that people would be talking about. And it was very fascinating for me. And after 2 years, I'd made a bit of money, but I wasn't very passionate about what I was doing. You
don't mind the coding bit?
No, not the coding bit, just the purpose behind my work. I was always reading news from around the world. I was in the emerging markets division, and something that kept coming back to me was all these issues in South Africa: education, high unemployment, all kinds of stuff. Yet that underlying glimmer of hope, where people are, trying to solve these issues. And I thought to myself, I'm faced with a choice. I can either stay on Wall Street for the next 10 years and probably end up as a millionaire, because you really do make a lot of money there. Or I can go back to South Africa and just see what I can do there. And so that's what I did. It was a tough decision.
Okay, so you leave Wall Street, you come to South Africa, you start iXperience, and the idea is to teach anyone in South Africa. I'm assuming you're not just picking on 3-year-olds here, but to teach anyone to code who wants to learn to code, or what are the criteria?
So iXperience is quite a complicated model. Essentially, developing a school for local students is quite tough, because you need good facilities, your students need resources such as laptops, you need good lecturers, all these things cost money, right? And so when I first designed the concept, it wasn't actually financially feasible. And so I decided to twist it around and invite or propose a product which is for US college students to come to South Africa, spend dollars, learn how to code, but also have a summer experience in Cape Town, learn about the culture, connect with local companies, develop relationships, look at the problems here and try to solve them using technology. And then using those funds, we're developing a local education product which ultimately is going to be free for local students. So we're going to find the top, smartest students, 18 to 23 years old, and we're going to pull them into this coding program, a high-performance coding program, teach them how to code, teach them how to solve problems using technology, and then hopefully get them out there building products that can be innovative and solve issues in South Africa.
Will you have an adequate enough pipeline? I remember asking Chris Becker once as to why he was investing Naspar's money in India, $7 billion I think it was at the time, for product development and for research. And he was saying, well, there just isn't enough maths and science in South Africa to justify to my board why we should take those dollars and invest them in South Africa versus putting them in India, where people are passionate about their education, where the maths system is still solid and dependable. South Africa's basic education system is so deeply flawed, he wasn't prepared to make that investment here. Why is your case different?
Well, look, there's obviously a multitude of challenges that exist in trying to sort of flip education upside down and prove to people that we can teach people the skills that can be necessary in South Africa's workforce in a short amount of time. Now, like a lot of people are skeptical about that. How can you do it? But we're here to prove them wrong, and that's essentially our job. We need to understand what are the issues in our local education. How can we develop educational modules that can address these issues and actually produce people that can be hired and can actually innovate.
Do we have enough of a hunger in South Africa for coding at this stage? My sense of it is there are a couple of people doing amazing things. We see fantastic apps coming out. We see really good, some of our banking applications are amongst the best in the world. We've already got solid operations. Airports companies, one's not bad. Even Gautrain's got an app. Sometimes tells you what time the train's leaving.
Yeah.
But it's that sort of development that we need in South Africa. Is this a fertile ground for these new ideas, or are you simply training up a generation of young people going to take their skills and go and use them elsewhere?
Look, I think it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. When we go and speak to companies, any company, the first thing that they ask us, number one thing is, can you provide me with developers? There is a huge need for developers in South Africa. And we have very few. They all get hired, they all get paid high salaries, or they go overseas, right? The problem isn't that there isn't enough to pay people for these jobs. There just aren't enough people to fulfill these jobs.
Okay, so we have a need. We have a desperate need.
We have a definite need, and it's quite clear. I mean, CNBC, I'm sure, has a website and an app that needs to be maintained.
Somebody was talking to me about that the other day.
Yeah, I mean, somebody has to be doing that.
No, completely. But coding is coding the new DOS. I mean, DOS was a language that some of us learned at school in the 80s. You remember? No, you wouldn't remember the 80s. But kids were learning at school, were learning DOS in the 80s, and computer languages evolved over time. Is coding the ugly stepchild of DOS, or is it an evolution?
Coding is a lot more sexy than it sounds, because you're building things that people see and interact with on a daily basis, right? So the way you design your product is just as important as the back-end fundamentals. There's a reason some apps are way more popular than others, and that reason is just that they're well designed. And so you get this issue in South Africa as well. You get 6 banks, they're all designing apps. The bank that has the best interface, that works well, that users can use, they're going to get thousands and thousands and thousands more users than the other banks.
Completely.
And so they're all investing in this, and they're understanding that the digital world is coming to us a lot quicker than we thought.
Where are we in this process? Are the young people here? Are the Americans, the Ivy League students here? Are they working? Are they churning out graduates of the Fuchs School of Training?
Our first intake of students comes in on May the 15th. We're going to have 130 students here this summer.
Are you fully subscribed?
We are fully subscribed. We actually had to open up a new session to cater for the amount of students we've got. They will all be learning to code. We've got 2 campuses, one on Cliff Street and one in Greenpoint.
How's it being funded?
So initially, I have a partner. He is a professional poker player. I'm not kidding. And he decided that he wanted to invest in young entrepreneurs in South Africa. We met by chance, and he decided to fund this project. The initial funding...
Have you secured the funding? Because I don't want him going out to play a poker game tonight and lose his bucks and then the project dies.
No, luckily this business is self-sustaining now, so we can function on our own income, which is great. And we're building a team of young, passionate people that are always looking to innovate and always looking for new ways to grow this product that we've created.
Do we depend on the goodwill of the young American students who are coming here to keep fulfilling the training roles, or how's that going to evolve?
Well, the way that it works is that the students that come here and learn to code, the American students, they end up going back to college, right? This is a summer experience for them. But we've connected them with companies and with students in South Africa. So we're hoping to forge relationships between these first world students and students in South Africa. And the reason is because students who want to learn to code in the US, they're thinking about designing the next Instagram or how to make your email faster. And what we're showing them is there are real issues in the world. There are things going on in South Africa that can be solved using technology, medical issues, transport issues. And so we're exposing them to a whole new world of opportunity, which we're hoping that some of them will take advantage of and come back and in the future.
It would have taken you 5, maybe 10 years to become a dollar millionaire in the United States.
That's right, yes.
You ever going to get rich out of this?
That's not really my primary concern. I feel like there are definitely ways to make money through something like this, but our primary objective is to actually have impact in Africa. And that impact will be realized if we can create and produce students and people that have the ability to solve problems through technology and to innovate in the society we live in today.
Aaron Fuchs, we must leave it there, but thank you so much for coming in. Aaron Fuchs is the guy behind iXperience, bringing youngsters to South Africa to help young South Africans learn to code, the language of the future. That's been tonight. I'm Bruce Whitefield. Thank you for watching. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.